No, not PBJ like peanut butter and jelly, but BBJ. BBJ the third. And I'm going to tell you about some of my favorite Bible heroes.
Jumping, jumping, jump. Sometimes it feels like our life is like jumping on a trampoline, changing with every twist and churn, with every land and every up and down, not knowing where we may end up next. Change sometimes is good, but sometimes change could be the worst thing possible. At those bad moments in our life, the only good thing that always stays the same is God. God never changes, no matter the situation. God never changes if he is pulled left or right, jumping up and down on the trampoline of our life. He is always the same, kind, loving, caring, forgiving, and forever blessing. Now, let's open up to Malachi chapter 3, verse 6. Here we can read exactly what the Lord is saying. I, the Lord, do not change. Here he gives hope and security for his people and tells them no matter the situation, no matter what happens in life, he will not change. Has anything happened in your life? Has anything in your life gone not the way you hoped? Has anything changed? Changed the way you think or work? What has God done in your life that you know would never change?
Now you practice. Repeat after me. Go ahead and jump up and down as you say the verse.
I, the Lord, do not change. Malachi 3:6.
Again.
I, the Lord, do not change. Malachi 3:6.
Again.
I, the Lord, do not change. Malachi 3:6.
Jump and say it.
I, the Lord, do not change. Malachi 3:6.
For today's lesson, we're going to start with a super fun activity. First, you need to build an obstacle course. Make it the coolest, awesomest obstacle course ever. You can use things like stuffed animals, and you can use pillows and chairs and beds and tables. Don't climb the tables though, but find whatever you have at home and build an obstacle course. And then someone's gonna have to wear a blindfold, and the other person's gonna be given directions, okay? So if you can go ahead and build your obstacle course now, and you can pause the video, or you can watch me first walk through this obstacle course, okay? So remember, you gotta give good directions if you're the one who's given directions, and the person who's blindfolded, then you need to try to follow those directions very carefully so you don't fall, okay? All right, go ahead. Okay, I am going to put on my blindfold, and I am going to go ahead.
Okay, go straight. Yep, keep going straight. Just straight ahead. And then stop right there. Take a big step across. Turn left. Take a big step. Oh, nice job. Okay, now you want to turn left. Go straight. Take very small steps. Go straight. You're going to step up a little bit. Now, yep, one more step. Yeah, oh, you're almost there. Yeah, step down. And then turn right and then duck under. Okay, good. Now take a huge step across there. Good job. You did a good job. You almost tripped, but good job. Okay, now take a step across and, oh, I guess that works too. And now step down, go straight. Yep. And then you're going to take a left again. A left, go straight. And go a little bit to your right, just a little bit. You're going to go around. It's like a container there. Right? Go step straight, straight, straight. And a little bit to the left right there, a little bit to the left. Okay. Now take a right. Now go straight, straight, straight through the bushes, and you will be there. Good job.
So how did I do? Did I do all right? Well, I almost fell over at certain points and I forgot which way was right or left at some points, but I still made it to the end, didn't I? How did you do? I hope you didn't get super hurt or fall or anything like that. Well, how did you feel if you were going through it blindfolded? Did you feel like you could fully trust, fully rely on the person giving you directions? That would make a big difference, wouldn't it? If you didn't feel like you can trust them, then what would you do? Maybe open your eyes, or you would take off the blindfold and peek and just so you wouldn't fall? Or maybe you did fall because they weren't reliable. If you were the person who was giving directions, how did you feel? Maybe you felt like you had power because you could either help this person or you can hurt them, huh? But what about if you had trouble remembering your right or your left? That would make it hard to give directions, wouldn't it? How is relying on your partner kind of like relying on God's promises? It takes trust, doesn't it? But we know that God will always follow through on his promises every single time. He never makes mistakes, and he always knows what he's saying. If it's right, then it's right. If it's left, then it's left. His promises stand true, and we can trust them completely because God never changes. Today, I want to tell you about somebody who trusted God's promises because God's promises always happen. We are going to turn to the very first book in the Bible, in God's true book, the Bible, in the book of Genesis. Genesis is a word that means beginnings. So turn to the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 5. Then you could follow along with me, okay? Genesis chapter 6, that's that big number, and then verse 5, that's the little number. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. So God saw that the world was getting really, really bad. There was a lot of sin in the world. Sin is when people go their own way instead of God's way. And God saw that all their heart, he saw when they wanted to do bad stuff. In fact, we all are born with the want to go our own way, to do our own thing for our own selves. We want to go our own way for whatever we think is going to help us somehow, when in reality, it just hurts us, doesn't it? That's what sin does. It hurts us. And because of sin, we deserve to die and be separated from God forever and ever. And God saw that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. Regretted doesn't mean that he was like, oops, I made a mistake. No, when God says that he regretted, it meant that he felt sorry for the people because he saw the sin and it really broke his heart. Verse 7, so the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. So there was somebody who was a righteous man. And this guy, God wanted to make sure that he stays alive. So he tells Noah his plans about destroying the world. He tells him in verse 17, for behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, and your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And every creature, so 2 of every kind of animal were going to go in the ark too. God told Noah how he can build a big, big, big ark, which was like a big boat. And he said that with this, he wouldn't die. Instead, he would make a covenant, which is like he would make a promise with Noah and his family that he would not destroy them. In verse 22, we read that Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. So Noah did everything that God said for him to do, And when you obey, it really shows that you trust. So when Noah obeyed God, it showed that he trusted God, that God really was gonna do what he said he would do. And you guys, the really super crazy thing about all of this is that they had never even seen rain at that time. So when God told Noah that he was gonna send rain, Noah had never even seen
Water come out of the sky.
Isn't that crazy? But he trusted that God was going to do what he said he would do. At that time, God would send the water would come from down the ground, and it would water all the plants that way. But at that time, they didn't have the rain that we see today. And if you're in Seattle, you see a lot of rain, don't you? Well, because Noah did everything that he was supposed to do, and then him and his family went into the ark, and the two of every kind of animal went into the ark too, and then God shut the door.
Because no one else wanted to listen to Noah and come in.
Imagine when he was building this, the other people must have teased him and said mean things, and they were like, how could this be true? What are you doing? What is that thing? You say what? You say there's gonna be something called rain? We've never seen anything come out of the sky. I mean, they must have been saying all sorts of things because they thought it was silly. But Noah believed what God said, and he trusted him. And God closed the door, and then the rain began to come. The rain began to come. Everybody take your hands off and go like this. The rain began to come, and it began to come down and down for 40 days and 40 nights it was coming. And also from down below the deeps of the earth, it was also coming from there. So soon the very tops of every mountain was covered with water. And the ark, it didn't sink. Everything was covered except for the ark. The ark floated above the waters. And it floated, and even when it stopped raining, the water still stayed on the earth for at least 150 days. So the ark is just floating there for 150 days. That's forever and ever and ever, right? You probably feel like it's forever and ever and ever that you can't go to school and that you have to be at home because of quarantine and these stay-at-home orders, right? You have to stay with your family at home. Well, Noah had to do it too. And one way that they passed the time is they had responsibilities. They got to feed the animals. They got to take care of the animals and take care of each other. Maybe that's something you could do during this time when you're at home. Maybe you can help your family. Maybe you can take some responsibility and take charge of feeding the cat or taking the dog outside for a walk. Whatever it is, then maybe you can help also in your family. Just like Noah and his family, they took care of each other and the animals for what seemed like a forever and ever time, right? When the water had kind of come down after 150 days and then another 2.5 months, then Noah finally opened a window of the ark. Man, they hadn't seen outside for such a long time. He opened the window of the ark and he let out a raven who went back and forth, and he let out a dove. And this dove went back and came back to him because he couldn't find a place, any trees or anything to sit on. And then after 7 more days, which again just felt like forever and ever and ever, he let out the dove again. This time, the dove came back with an olive leaf in his mouth. Well, it still came back, so he had to wait another 7 days, which felt like forever and ever and ever. And this time, he let the dove out, and it didn't come back. So he knew that it was time to come out of the ark. And he then began to sacrifice to God as a thank you that he had protected him. God was really pleased with Noah, and he made the covenant with him. We read in chapter 9, that's the big number, and the little number 11, I establish my covenant with you. So I make this promise with you, is what God was saying, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood. So he wasn't going to destroy all people again by a flood. And never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. We're the future generation, so this promise is for us too. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. That's God saying he put a rainbow in the sky as a promise so that we could remember that his promises are true and he's never going to send a flood to destroy everything on earth ever again. So every time that you see a rainbow, you could remember that too. You could remember that God keeps his promises. Another big promise that God made was to save people from the punishment of sin. God kept his promise here too. He sent Jesus so that he took the punishment of sin on the cross. He suffered so that we wouldn't have to. We wouldn't have to be separated from God forever and ever. We're going to create a journal today. In this journal, we're going to write about God's promises. So anytime you're reading in the Bible and you're like, oh, this is a promise of God for me, then go ahead and write it in the journal, okay? And we're going to start with a verse today. Well, go ahead and grab some paper. You can grab some white paper or colored paper. Maybe you want your cover to be a colored paper. You can be as creative as you want. You can use ribbons and yarn and hole punchers and whatever else you can think of to make a really cool promise journal, okay? So grab your paper. You can stack it up nicely and you can fold it in half. And then I want you to draw a rainbow. Okay, before I show you, let me see if you can remember the colors of the rainbow in order. Okay, go. Tell me. I think you said red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple too, right? I bet that's what you did. Okay, go ahead and draw a rainbow on your book. And this is going to be the Rainbow Promises Journal. Your journal is probably going to look a lot cooler than mine does, and I can't wait to see it. So make sure to send BBJ a picture of your journal, okay? And then on the very first page, you are going to write, can you guess what? What is the promise of God that you learned today? That's right. From Malachi 3:6, it says, I, the Lord, do not change. So you are going to write, I, the Lord, do not change. That is the first promise that you are going to write in your rainbow promises. God doesn't change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. He is the same. And because of that, we can trust him to do what he says he will do. He's not like we sometimes can change your mind, right? We can say something and then change your mind. Or maybe we can make a pinky promise with somebody and then they break that promise. God's not like that. When he says something, he does what he says. And because of that, we can trust him completely.